Ah,
Tu te mets sur le 2, ouais.
Bah vas-y.
Monte. Ah, test.
Ouais, c'est bon. C'est parce que...
If I can ask you please to take your seats, we are getting started. Thanks a lot. In a few minutes. Excellencies, honorable ministers, Royal Highness, all distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. It's a great honor and a pleasure for me to open this ceremony on the behalf of ANRS Emerging Infectious Diseases and INSERM, and to warmly welcome you all here in Paris to launch the 11th edition of EDCTP Forum and to celebrate together the 20th anniversary of this unique partnership. The 11th EDCTP Forum hosted by France is jointly supported by the second EDCTP program and the Global Health EDCTP3 joint undertaking. France is a founding member of EDCTP and since the very beginning has participated for the past 20 years defending the unicity and strength of the EDCTP model in close collaboration with European Commission. ANRS Emerging Infectious Diseases was created on January 1st, 2021 within INSEM in the middle of the COVID pandemic with an enlarged scope to emerging infectious diseases after the historical ANRS. It is deeply committed to support science and partnerships to address the major global health challenges, including those related to endemic and emerging diseases. EDCTP is clearly a game changer in having an extensive approach for addressing global health challenges in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not only the major clinical trial program between Europe and sub-Saharan Africa, but also an international vector for capacity building initiatives, especially training of young researchers and strengthening capacities. EDCTP brings the best out of collaborative research. It is the forum where teams from Europe and sub-Saharan Africa come together to face global challenges. It is the platform through which the most innovative cross-continental projects are funded. It is where research feeds global recommendation and guidelines, and I hope where research feeds innovation, where year after year, program after program, we make science evolve through and with the key input of researchers. It has led us to global health program that drives our strategy today, preparing and responding to poverty-related diseases through equal partnership, and I repeat, equal partnership, as EDCTP has done it since the beginning, which is key for success. Global health challenges require a strong and united voice, and for the past 20 years, we have addressed a lot already, but we know that there are still many neglected challenges. The momentum is there with EDCTP3, within the infectable support from European Commission and from Sub-Saharan Africa and European member states, but also public and private partners. Looking at such a wide assembly here in Paris and online is an encouraging sign that the international community is there, ready to keep on training, researching, building capacities, for fostering synergies to improve the lives and health of whole continents and thus the rest of the world. In this forum, we have more than 1,199 registrations, 1,048 in person, 62 countries, of which 49 from Africa. And although she is not yet here, I wanted to thank our Ministry of Higher Education and Research, Sylvie Rotaillot, who has done a lot for the visas that are becoming an issue. I wish you all a great 11th Forum, and again, welcome in Paris for networking, sharing experience, scientific results, and address together EDCP challenges to eventually improve population health. Thank you, and I want now to give the floor to my distinguished co-moderator, Irene Norstedt, the Director of People of Director DG Research and Innovation, European Commission. Thanks, Irene.
Thank you very much, Justin, for those words. And it's really a pleasure and an honor to be here today and to celebrate the 20 years of our cooperation between the European Union and Africa in research and innovation. It is truly a successful endeavor that we embarked on 20 years ago. And that has contributed to great progress on science, on the key poverty-related infectious diseases, contributing to capacity building for research systems and for the scientists driving it, and of course also the strong and enduring collaborations that has been established over these years. EDCTP is quite special because it focuses on equity, and it's a trusted partnership of scientists and policymakers across Africa and Europe. And it has been built and nurtured over this last 20 years very successfully. EDCTP has truly established itself as the partnership between our continents in research to control infectious diseases and development of new interventions that are so much needed. So we are also at the crossroads now, and we are now in the Global Health EDCTP3, which builds on the experiences of EDCTP1 and EDCTP2 programs since 2003. And we are further enhancing the collaboration of scientists in African and European countries. And the pandemic, I think, has really refocused minds on the need to invest in research on infectious diseases and on international cooperation. And as the African Union builds and strengthens its national and regional programs for disease prevention and control, the Global Health EDCTP3 will be a key instrument to help strengthening scientific and regulatory collaboration with Europe on that joint cause. And the Commission will continue to play an active role, aiming to integrate the various European Union and African Union programs, including the Team Europe initiatives for win-win opportunities for the EDCTP partnership. I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate Dr. Michael Makanga, who has been appointed the new Executive Director for the Global Health EDCTP joint undertaking. And Michael, who has been leading the EDCTP Association for many years very successfully, really will ensure the continuity with the successful predecessor programs. And I would also like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Elmar Nimmersken, who has provided an excellent leadership in creating and building and setting up the joint undertaking ad interim. Next week, we will have the succession with Michael taking up his duties on the 16th of November, and we wish you all the best of luck, Michael, and we will continue to support you in this endeavor. So with this introductions, I will introduce our first speaker of this plenary session this afternoon, and this will be through a video provided by the Commissioner for Research, Innovation, Culture and Education, Iliana Ivanova.
Dear Madam Minister Sylvie Retailleau, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to address you today at the European and Developing Countries Clinical Trials Partnership meeting in Paris. Cooperation between European and African countries in research is crucial for global health and sustainable development. The European Union is committed to fostering our scientific collaboration. Examples include the comprehensive strategy with Africa, the global approach to research and innovation, the Global Gateway, and the EU Global Health Strategy. And of course, the African Union EU Innovation Agenda, with a prominent role for the EDCTP. Today, we celebrate 20 years of tireless commitment through EDCTP, which started in 2003 with an EU grant of 200 million euros. Over the years, it has grown into a partnership between 15 European and 27 African countries, with EDCTP 2 investing over 820 million euros directly and leveraging more than 1 billion euros from participating countries. This collaboration enabled us to support over 300 clinical studies, yielding significant achievements such as the development of a malaria vaccine for children. Over time, EDCTP has not only advanced research, but also strengthened capacity in sub-Saharan Africa. It funded ethics and regulatory review, helping bring innovative products to the market. It has also supported Africa in training and retaining researchers, and it is a pleasure to have so many of you here at this forum. Let me now speak about the future. The Global Health EDCTP 3 joint undertaking is now up and running. It has a new executive director, Dr. Michael Makanga. I wish him every success. He's taking over from Dr. Elmar Nimmersken, whom I thank for leading the organization in the interim. With a budget of 1.6 billion euros, we build on the success and experience from the past, but also make a leap forward. First, by reorganizing the partnership as a joint undertaking. The European Union is now formally a partner in addition to European and African countries, and the EU contribution has increased to 800 million euros, testifying to our strong commitment. Second, the new setup allows us to broaden and intensify the partnership of equals. It is now open to global partners, allowing joint calls and collaboration with philanthropic organizations, other funding agencies, and the industry. It operates on a 101 leverage model, with each euro from the EU matched by a partner contribution. Third, the expanded scope will allow us to cover other priorities. As the African Union builds and strengthens its programs for disease prevention and control, the partnership will be a key instrument to strengthen scientific and regulatory capacity and collaboration with Europe. Additionally, Team Europe initiatives with Africa will emphasize local production, public health institutes, and One Health. As we reflect on the achievements of the past 2 decades, let's chart a path forward for this enduring partnership for global health. Establishing clinical trial networks for preparedness, response, and collaboration across the continents is our joint interest. I extend my best wishes for productive discussions here in Paris. Thank you and best of success.
So thank you, Commissioner, for those words. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce the second speaker from the European Commission. And this is my colleague, Laurent Michel, who is the acting head of DG HERA. And for those of you who do not know what HERA means, it stands for Health Emergency and Preparedness and Response Authority. Laurent, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Irene.
Dear participants, it's a pleasure and honor to address you today on behalf of HERA. I think I don't need to repeat what it means. Irene just said it. In fact, HERA was created 2 years ago during the lessons from COVID to bolster our collective and global capacity to be better prepared to respond to the next health crisis. Let me stress the word global, because with COVID-19, we have all witnessed that pandemics do not care of borders, and that the only answer is to work together. Climate change is also having evident global effects on health, with several cases of dengue in Italy, France, and Spain this summer. We know that the time when tropical diseases were confined to remote areas is long gone. Our global community now needs to act together to avoid being caught off guard again. Medical countermeasures, which is the core business of HERA, are the most powerful tools for responding to this serious cross-border health threat. Therefore, it is of our utmost priority to ensure that these products are available and accessible at global scale in case of need. We deeply believe in the power of collaboration across sectors and across geographic areas. We have seen and experienced that unilateral responses to health emergencies are limited in reach and results. Coordination and cooperation beyond Europe is key to build up resilience and to provide timely and appropriate responses. In that context, the EDCTP initiative is a critical building block, and HERA is fully committed to support this joint undertaking and leverage synergies. By bringing together African and European players, EDCTP truly exemplifies the added value of partnership for pandemic preparedness, such as adaptive platform trials, genomic epidemiology, and also for creating sustainable clinical trial networks for infectious disease in sub-Saharan Africa. This is something that is clearly linked to HERA mandate, and indeed, we are, for instance, supporting clinical trials for better response at the moment in Uganda. HERA is also financing activities to increase intelligence gathering in Africa with the establishment of a new WHO hub in the region. In a complementary effort, HERA is supporting WHO Afro to scale up laboratory capacities both for clinical and environmental surveillance in several African countries. It is therefore for better and early detection of the new health threat that we have to work together. On a broader scale, I would like to take the opportunity to announce the future establishment of a global consortium for wastewater surveillance systems. In about 10 days, on the 16th and 17th of November, the International Conference toward a wastewater surveillance system for public health will take place in Germany, in Frankfurt. It will be the occasion to bring together the key stakeholders to develop a global sentinel system for early warning. Further down the line, the Commission, together with EU member states and the European Investment Bank, is also funding action to support manufacturing capacity in Africa for vaccine, therapeutics, and health technologies. With a budget of 1.1 billion euros, we are developing serious capacity in Africa that is coming soon. We have projects in Rwanda, and in December there will be the opening of an mRNA facility in Rwanda. We have the Institut Pasteur of Dakar in Senegal. We have projects in South Africa. So we are seeing a lot of new capacity for vaccine production in Africa, be it traditional vaccine or mRNA vaccine. And that will require massive clinical trials because we need to produce new vaccine and we need to get the clinical trials on track. And for that, we need to link up EDCTP with this manufacturing capacity. So there's a real new need to match the research community with what is happening in the world of manufacturing. And that's, I think, the new challenge for EDCTP for the future. We need strategic investment with resources allocated wisely. I'm confident that the close collaboration between ERA, the Commission overall, and EDCTP will further enhance our ability to develop life-saving vaccine and therapeutics. By investing together in research and development, by engaging in collective action, we can forge a path that leads to a better preparedness, more equitable access to medical countermeasures, and ultimately ensure a better future for African and European citizens. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the discussion today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Laurent, and thanks also for all the future collaboration that we will have. Now it is a pleasure to introduce the opening remarks from the World Health Organization, the WHO Director, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, and we will have a video message by Dr. Tedros.
Your Excellency, Minister Sylvie Rotayu, Irene Rostet, and Yazdan Pana, dear colleagues and friends. Since its launch 20 years ago, the European and developing countries clinical trials partnership has been at the forefront of supporting global health research in Africa. The collaboration between WHO and the partnership plays an especially important role during health emergencies, including the COVID-19 pandemic. The Special Program for Research and Training in Tropical Diseases, TDR, and the partnership also work together on the Clinical Research and Development Fellowship Program, which has placed over 100 researchers with collaborating institutions in low and middle-income countries. We remain committed to working with you to generate high-quality scientific evidence and to support lower-income countries to strengthen their research and clinical trials capacities. Thank you all for your commitment to harnessing the power of science and research for a healthier, safer, fairer world. I thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Tedros, for those words. We now should have somebody online who I think a little bit can be considered as a mother of EDCTP. and that is Maria de Graça Carvalho, who is a member of the European Parliament. Maria, are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. So the word
Okay,
goes
thanks,
to you.
Irene, for your kind words. Good afternoon, distinguished guests. Thank you for the organizers for inviting me to be part of this celebration. It's a pity that I cannot be with you in Paris. I'm in Brussels in the middle of the different dossiers that we have to finish in the very busy period of the European Parliament. But I want to anyway to join you in celebrating an initiative that I care very much since the beginning, that is the EDCTP. I would like also to start with this intervention by paying my respect to Dr. Pascoal Mokumbi that sadly passed away recently. And I had an honor of taking part of the launch and the preparation of the launch of the EDCTP 20 years ago, when I was Minister of Science, Innovation and Higher Education in Portugal. And at the time, we had proposed to the European Council this initiative, and the engagement at the time of Dr. Mukumbi, who was at then Prime Minister of Mozambique, was very important to make this project a reality. So as a Portuguese, I'm a member of the European Parliament from Portugal. It prides me to say that this journey started with the cooperation in Portuguese, and makes me very happy to hear that very recently also Guinea-Bissau, another Portuguese-speaking country, has recently joined, and Angola is a candidate to the partnership. EDCTP was built on the premise that there is no real transfer of technology without a strong capacity building component. True cooperation means involving all parts in the process. This is an initiative anchored in principles of shared responsibility between all the stakeholders, from the administrative responsibilities to the research to the work in the field. Achieving this requires institutional development, solid regulations, ethical principles and guidelines, and the investment in skills. Precisely what this program has been doing. The EDCTP has grown to become a flagship initiative for international cooperation in health, not just in Africa, but a bit is well known all over the world. It involves now 15 European countries and 27 African countries, and also the involvement of major international donors, for example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But let me just a few of its successful results of EDCTP. Thanks to this initiative, new child-friendly formulations of antiviral HIV drugs have increased children's access to treatment. Also, for the first time in over 40 years, a phase 3 clinical trial for a new tuberculosis treatment was implemented. And in 21, following a very successful pilot projects in Kenya, Ghana, and Malawi, the World Health Organization recommended the use of the first ever malaria vaccine in children in sub-Saharan Africa and other regions with moderate rates to high transmission, a vaccine made possible by EDCTP. Other malaria treatments also involve this partnership and are showing very promising results. The work supported by EDCTP has also contributed to a faster response to COVID-19. In fact, was one of the first EU instruments to be mobilized to launch research and innovation activities to fight COVID-19. As a member of the European Parliament, I was rapporteur in the second EDCTP, EDCTP2, and more recently, rapporteur for the new generation of European partnerships, where EDCTP3 is included and now is called Global Health. This is the more ambitious EDCTP program to date. not just because of its budget, 1.6 billion euros, but above all because it goes further in the efforts to support research careers, strengthening national health research system in sub-Saharan Africa. However, there is still a lot of work ahead of us. Several unaddressed poverty-related diseases are still responsible for numerous deaths and severe disabilities. I'm thinking about sleeping sickness, but this is just an example among others. There is also room for improvement in terms of cooperation between different initiatives inside the European Commission, for example, with the funds of DG Development, engaging other countries, both the European level and in Africa, including strengthening the ties between the African countries themselves. So a lot of work. And we have reasons to be proud of what we have achieved, but we need to be ambitious for the future. And I want to finish to say that you can count on me in which position I have. I will always support you to be more ambitious in terms of budget and scope of the EDCTP. So congratulations and good work.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. de Garza Carvalho, and we will be ambitious. Thanks a lot. So we have opening remarks from the WHO director. Of course, the relationship between EDCTP and WHO, and in particular, WHO Afro is extremely important. And it has evolved in recent years thanks to the EDCTP governance, and I wanted also congratulate my friend Michael Makanga for his nomination and what he has done. And we thought that it is important now to listen to WHO Afro opening remarks, and in particular to Lindwe Makubalo, who is going to actually deliver a speech on the behalf of Dr. Mwetis. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me this afternoon to make these few remarks on behalf of WHO Afro, Dr. Mweti. And we thought what we would do today is to reflect a little on our relationship with EDCTP over the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, the world has experienced dramatic changes and challenges, including widespread epidemics such as Ebola, COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, an increase in infectious diseases, including HIV and TB, an explosion of non-communicable diseases, and the effects of climate change on health. Notably, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted just how vulnerable we all are, the world is, to disease. The COVID-19 pandemic has also sharply highlighted inequalities, and certainly at the time that we were experiencing the pandemic at the height of it, it was very clear the inequalities in access to existing tools and countermeasures, particularly between the global north and the global south. The ACT-A initiative and vaccines and other countermeasures that resulted from there were important lessons on what can be achieved when we collaborate. Indeed, the pandemic reaffirmed the importance of data-driven, evidence-informed action. It also strongly reminded the research world of just how important clinical research, in fact, basic research, clinical trials research, and subsequent actions are in order to stop new pathogens that spread quickly and cause enormous social impact around the world. We also learned about working together and making progress through North-South collaboration. The EDCTP is uniquely placed and has been uniquely placed as a strategic partner with Africa. And I think we've heard it today that we've had this relationship over the years. And at a time when partnerships weren't so strong, particularly between the North and South, the EDC partnership stood out and really made a huge difference. Now, we've had, as WHO, well, maybe I should first start by thanking thanking the EDCTP work, collaboration, especially for the HERA project. We are currently working very closely with yourselves on, with the DG HERA project, particularly on epidemiology, genomic epidemiology, genomic surveillance, and some of the work that is ongoing is really excellent, and we really appreciate that work. Over the years, there has been a lot of work. I won't repeat what we've already heard about some of the achievements and what has some of the achievements over the years, but just to highlight a few areas. The road to innovation and development, developing new tools is costly, and between 2014 and 2022 alone, the EDCTP's contribution to clinical research exceeded 634 million, funding 122 research grants in malaria, TB, HIV, NTDs, and emerging diseases and diarrheal diseases. This is really impressive. Over the years, there has also been what we have seen in terms of our relationship with, as WHO, with the EDCTP, a synergy in terms of our R&D portfolios and some of the work that has taken place. And this, we find, has been very useful, and also, I think, supported our work as WHO. And WHO, with our many, in fact, our offices in all the countries, is really a place where we would like to take evidence of research into policy. And we have found that working with EDCTP and other partnership has really been able to help us take research findings to countries, to communities for implementation. We have, in terms of strengthening research capacity in the region, I think we've already heard about how research has been strengthened in the region, and we're really pleased. I mean, there are huge numbers, but we've been pleased as WHO to also host some programs where we have been working with young researchers, young scientists in about 14 countries, conducting implementation research and identifying solutions. And we've found that this is important. We do have senior researchers, but we do need to, even in terms of capacity, be building a pipeline of researchers, so to speak, young researchers who then learn and can take the lessons forward in terms of R&D and other research areas. In the regulatory domain, an important and exciting area of work was with the African Vaccine Regulatory Forum. AVREF is a unique network that connects regulators, ethics committees, and developers from 55 member states to expedite approval of clinical trials and access to medical technologies in Africa. The platform has supported the tackling of diseases such as COVID-19, Ebola, malaria, TB, and others. And in 2021, 4 multi-country clinical trials were facilitated by AVREF with participation of 18 countries. Other ethics and regulatory projects are being conducted in 37 sub-Saharan African countries, and curricula for training is also being developed and has been very useful. Additionally, funding from EDCTP enabled the establishment of the Pan-African Clinical Trials Registry in response to increasing complexity of clinical trial design and ethics. So maybe just not to spend too much time on this, just to say that our collaboration with EDCTP countries has been very, really appreciated by WHO, and we look forward as we, look forward as we're going into looking at and developing the EDCTP3 is being developed, that we can continue to support and work with EDCTP, with countries in the European Union, and of course with our partners on the continent, such as the Africa CDC. In fact, with Africa CDC, maybe I can highlight one point which I was just going to skip, that in response to that during COVID, one of the areas of work was in collaboration with Africa CDC was establishing a special expert advisory committee on traditional medicines at a time when it was important for scientific research to be put out on in terms of what was going on. Now, good clinical research can only flourish in countries when there's strong research ecosystems. So part of the work that we've been doing is working very closely with countries, developing research ecosystems. And this is an area where we feel where we are going to continue working and would be obviously very keen to continue the partnership working with countries. We have quite a large, reasonably large network of WHO collaborating centers in the region and other institutions that we work closely with, who we partner with in terms of training, capacity building, and so we look forward to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome EDCTP3, we would like to congratulate the new executive director and appreciate the working relationship that we have shared to date, and look forward, of course, to strengthening this partnership and working together in terms of the programs that are being developed. We would maybe just finally like to point out that we, as the WHO Afro, we have been embarking on a new strengthened science innovation program, and in the context of that program, are very keen to continue to strengthen the work on strengthening ecosystems, research to policy, but also in terms of some of the research work that is taking place on the continent, such as the mRNA hub and some of the other hubs that we have, WHO hubs. We look forward to strengthening collaboration through those hubs and through those centers. So I'll just end here and say thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll be able to share some of the other points that I have not gone through during this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Makubalu, for those kind words, and we're looking forward to further cooperation and strengthened cooperation between EDCTP and WHO Afro. So we now have another very important organization, and that is the Africa CDC. And I would like to invite Dr. Shingai Mashingaidze, did I pronounce it correctly? Who is the acting chief scientist in the Africa CDC. And also here we have a very long cooperation, and has been also further strengthened, in particular with the signature of a memorandum of understanding in 2021. So, over to you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say all protocols observed. I have the pleasure of representing the Africa CDC Director General, His Excellency, Dr. Jean Kaseya, who would have wanted to be here in person. EDCTP is a very important partnership for Africa CDC. It's also very special for me to be here. I worked with EDCTP for over 6 years in the Africa office, so very happy to be here and to see many of my colleagues. So I'll start by saying thank you for inviting Africa CDC to participate in the 11th EDCTP Forum under the theme Partnering for Global Health Research and Impact in Africa. We would like to extend our heartfelt congratulations to EDCTP and the European Commission as we celebrate with you the 20th anniversary. And of course, congratulations to Dr. Michael Makanga that has just recently been appointed as the director for EDCTP3. Since 2003, EDCTP has consistently and intentionally invested in building clinical trial capacity in sub-Saharan Africa, and the impact is significant, as you have heard from the previous speakers. By building individual capacity of African scientists through the Comprehensive Fellowship Program, building the infrastructure in which the trials can be conducted to world-class standards through calls for research and innovation actions, as well as building capacities for ethics and regulatory. And also building sustainable research networks through the EDCTP Regional Networks of Excellence and other networks. Over the years, EDCTP has left a footprint in almost every country in sub-Saharan Africa. Our additional wish as the Africa CDC is to extend this footprint equally to our North African member states. The objectives of EDCTP, both EDCTP2 and the Global Health EDCTP3 joint undertaking, align very well with Africa CDC. We aim to support public health initiatives of African member states and strengthen the capacity of their public health institutions to detect, prevent, control, and respond quickly and effectively to disease threats. We work alongside many partners who are here in this room, including WHO headquarters and WHO Afro. Over the years, Africa CDC has enjoyed a fruitful partnership with EDCTP. We are a young organization who turned 6 at the beginning of this year. But since 2018, Africa CDC and EDCTP have been working and signed an official memorandum of understanding in 2021. I would like to take a few moments to highlight one collaborative activity which I believe is demonstrating an impactful partnership. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020, we launched a joint call with EDCTP2, worth €7.5 million, training 150 epidemiologists and biostatisticians. This unique program was designed and established, recognizing that training programs were urgently needed to develop a cohort of epidemiologists across Africa and beyond who can work in collaboration with their ministries of health and national public health institutes, as well as with relevant regional and international organizations to collectively conduct routine surveillance and public health research and respond timely to disease outbreaks. I believe many of these epidemiologists are here today at this forum, and many will be graduating, and some have already graduated. We're very happy to see high quality and collaborative training of epidemiologists and biostatisticians taking place on the continent. We, of course, as Africa CDC, look forward to calling on this network of EpiFellows. As each of them return to their respective institutions, we hope to continue building on this, ensuring we build a critical mass of trained epidemiologists who are well connected, and most importantly, who remain to work on the continent. As we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and continue to strengthen our health systems, I would like to remind everyone in this room that Africa faces over 100 outbreaks each year. That translates to 2 outbreaks each week on average. What we do know is we cannot effectively respond if we do not own the tools of the response. Ensuring we have strong outbreak response mechanisms is a critical component of the work Africa CDC does. We are working with African member states to ensure that each country has strong and efficient national public health institutes with functional and operational public health emergency operations centered, with integrated active surveillance systems that are well-staffed and well-resourced. We are also working to optimize the efficiency and impact of the African clinical trial ecosystem through a regional coordination approach, recognizing that the ability to conduct clinical trials in an emergency setting is dependent on capacities and systems that are already built. We saw the impact of the capacities built through EDCTP funding, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic as well as the Ebola outbreaks. The EDCTP Regional Networks of Excellence and other pandemic preparedness networks such as Pandora ID Net and Alert also had a significant impact on the ability of African member states to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. We as Africa CDC look forward to continuing to grow this partnership, strategically growing our footprint in clinical research capabilities and pandemic preparedness response on the African continent. I wish you fruitful discussions over the next few days as we discuss and network. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Chingai. So, and again, as Irene said, of course, Africa CDC for EDCTP is key. and relationships are extremely important. So now we're going to move to another part of this ceremony, which is Dr. Pasquale Mukumbi keynote address and prize award ceremony. And I will ask Laurent, I'm sorry, you should remain on board, but not on the stage now. So ask Laurent, and thanks a lot again, and to, of course, all of you for all your inputs. And now I wanted to ask Marcel Tanner and Sonia Mukumbi to come on the stage, and I wanted to say that Sonia Mukumbi is the family representative of Dr. Pasquale Mukumbi. And I will give you the floor. You can come here, and with Irene, we will give you the moderation of this session.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chair Jastan. Excellencies, Her Royal Highness, honorable professors, directors, presidents, commissioners, but mainly dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's for us, together with Sonia Mukumbi, a really great pleasure to have this small moment with you, not just to have a ceremony of a prize, but really, first of all, of course, we congratulate EDCTP for the 20 years, and also that it goes on with our newly elected director and old director, Michael Makanga. This is congratulations. And at such a moment, you also think a little bit where you come from. Some of you have heard from me, I often say, no roots, no fruits. And if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you go to. And that exactly is what actually we have to think about at this moment. We not only think of a person, but we think of a person who has helped us in EDCTP to really profile and shape EDCTP in what it is now. We have had the privilege to work with Pasquale Mukumbi, some of us very early already. Personally, myself, after 6 years of Africa in 1986, I had the privilege to meet Pasquale Mukumbi. It's time ago. EDCTP did not exist yet, but actually he took me somehow back to Africa and showed where some roots are and where one has actually to engage and work. We think of that, and we think of that as someone who has not gone. He's just in another form and with these memories. And as we know very well, Salvador Dali said once that actually to say goodbye is actually the birth of remembering. And in this way, we know that Pasquale is with us, still with us, and in us. And we would not be what we are today if we would not have had the privilege and pleasure to work with Pasquale Mukumbi. But I hand now over to Sonia, because that's the family, and she knows much more, and maybe my observations were only superficial.
Thank you very much, Marcel. I'm deeply honored to stand before you all at this 11th EDCTP Forum. I'm here on behalf of the Mukumbi family to join the EDCTP family in celebrating the 20 years of science, knowledge, and partnership. Through my father, Pasquale Mukumbi, I followed the creation and development of this program. And I strongly believe as also Marcel said, that we are here today in part because he defended the importance of generating and sharing knowledge through the establishment of fair and equitable partnerships. All throughout his life, my father would say something that has always stuck with me. He would tell my siblings and I that knowledge is your greatest wealth, as it is the one thing that no one can ever take away from you. To him, knowledge was the greatest legacy and the best tool for us as individuals or as a community to take control of our destiny. And I would really want to thank you, the family EDCTP, to allow us today to be here and to honor his memory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Wonderful. And as you see, she showed how Pascal is still with us and in us. And now we are actually not going to the award ceremony. No, no, no. First, you have to really get a little bit of the context that extends from what Sonia said. And it's my great pleasure to introduce Professor Michel Katcherskin from the Graduate Institute for International Affairs and Development in Geneva. And Michel is really talking to us. It's called a keynote, but it's just giving us context in the spirit that we know where we go to and know where we come from. Please, Michel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sonia. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, dear Yazdan, dear Michael, congratulations. Let me join everyone in congratulating you for your election. Dear colleagues, partners, and friends of the European Developing and Clinical Trials Countries Clinical Trials Network. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address you today as we recognize this important milestone of EDCTP's 20th anniversary. I'm particularly honored to give these remarks in the form of the Pascal Mokumbi keynote. As Minister of Health in the 80s, and then serving for 10 years as Prime Minister of Mozambique, Dr. Mokumbi, whom I remember well, very well actually, was a leading African voice in the fight against HIV in Mozambique and globally, and the founding father of EDCTP. So dear colleagues, 20 years ago, the EDCTP was established to fund clinical research to prevent, detect, and treat poverty-related infectious diseases in sub-Saharan Africa. From the start, it was launched as a partnership with the goal of funding collaborative research by European African consortia, as well as fostering a more supportive environment for clinical research in sub-Saharan Africa. After 20 years, I believe we can say in confidence that EDCTP has been both a unique model and a remarkable success, implementing key clinical trials and clinical research, and in building a true partnership. Since the first call for proposals in 2005, more than €1 billion have been awarded to nearly 700 projects in more than 70 countries, including 44 in Africa, nearly 500 clinical studies, including 150 phase 2 and 3 studies of drugs and vaccines, have been supported through EDCTP 1 and 2, generating close to 2,000 peer-reviewed publications. Some of the speakers before me had their pick of their favorites when it comes to the results of EDCTP. Let me mention the Kesha Bora study that I remember well. I was the director of ANRS at that time, that influenced revision of the 2010 WHO guidelines on prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV during breastfeeding. The already mentioned R21 matrix M malaria vaccine, where the EDCTP conducted phase 2B trial, showed 77% efficacy of the vaccine. And the new global roadmap for TB vaccine R&D that was developed by the EDCTP and the Amsterdam Institute for Global Health and Development in partnership with WHO. Critically, and as already said, EDCTP has also supported clinical research and capacity building in Africa, including ethics and regulatory capacity, and granted a number of fellowships to help develop the careers of future African research leaders. Dear colleagues, these are significant achievements in just 20 years, of which the many partners and teams involved can be proud. The clinical teams and methodologists, the Scientific Advisory Board, the European Commission and other donors, and most importantly, the trial participants. Throughout my career, I have always been struck, regardless of the institution or setting, by the selflessness of people who volunteer their time with no certain benefit to participate in a controlled trial of a regimen to prevent HIV transmission or a new vaccine or therapy. They deserve our highest recognition and respect. This history, going back to the early HIV response, has also taught us the importance of including communities and trial participants in the design and the implementation of trials, a practice that not only makes our research far more effective and meaningful, but has had implications far beyond the field of clinical trials in policy, programming, service delivery, and governance, giving rise to what we call in French la démocratie sanitaire, essentially a health democracy. The EDCTP has also succeeded in showcasing an effective model of research partnership. I have myself the experience of leading the Global Fund partnership. Partnerships are vital because no challenge in global health can be overcome by one person or entity, and because partnerships are about learning from each other, which is so essential in science and in health. Coming together in many ways to fight HIV, TB, and malaria has, above all, been an extraordinary joint global movement to defend the human right to health for all. And I'm sometimes reminded of painful examples of what happens when research is not undertaken as a partnership. In 1998, the first trials on prevention of mother-to-child transmission were conducted in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, by both the French ANRS and the US CDC. Both trials led to the same positive results on the efficacy of AZT. Both trials were published in the same issue of The Lancet. But if the trials had been done together instead of in parallel, 1/3 of the women participating would not have been in the placebo group, and both lives and resources would have been saved. Even as we gather today to reflect on progress and success, we must also recognize that the world today is not the one which presided over the first years of EDCTP or the Global Fund. After 15 years of sustained progress, the picture today is one in which global health has been stagnating since 2015 and regressing in the last 3 years. The reasons are well known. The COVID pandemic, economic instability, the climate crisis, wars, displacement affecting millions of people, and a populist political backlash against progress. We're witnessing backsliding on rights across the globe, widening inequalities between and within countries, diminishing trust in science, decreasing funding for global health, less political leadership. For example, very few and no European leader attended this year's United Nations Summit on Health, and a stagnating and sometimes frustratingly impotent multilateralism. Stalling efforts are seen across the Sustainable Development Goals. While, as reminded us by our African CDC colleague, acute respiratory infections, HIV, diarrhea, malaria, and TB claim over 6 million lives in Africa every year, we know that the end of AIDS, TB, and malaria can be in sight if only our commitment can be sustained, and that sustained progress in global health has a huge impact on human capital and on prosperity. Inequalities are, of course, at the heart of the disease's poverty, and growing inequalities are a major obstacle to further progress on the health-related SDGs. And social and economic inequalities have been a major determinant of outcomes and excess mortality in the COVID pandemic. The lack of access to COVID vaccines, in particular, has been an appalling and distressing inequity during the pandemic. It is urgent that we now draw on the lessons from COVID-19 as political attention wanes and the world shifts once again, as it did after SARS, after Ebola, from pandemic panic to pandemic neglect. Governments and the global community must urgently tackle difficult questions about why, how, where, and when diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines are produced, and about who is in control of their availability, and distribution. Everyone agrees that equity in timely and equitable access to vaccines or other medical countermeasures must be prioritized in future frameworks for better pandemic preparedness and response. Multiple reviews of what went wrong during the response to COVID, including by the Independent Panel on Pandemic Prevention, Preparedness and Response, of which I was a member, have highlighted the need for a breakthrough that would transform critical health technologies like vaccines and underlying technology platforms into collectively governed global common goods for health. To achieve true equity, we must decentralize ownership and control of the technologies and know-how along the entire value chain of developing, manufacturing, and delivering vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, and other medical countermeasures. Researchers and developers in the Global South must have equitable access to the means of medical innovation and not just be allowed to manufacture what others have created. So the status quo is no longer an option. A new pandemic accord currently negotiated in Geneva, as you would know, must lay the basis for a true end-to-end system grounded in equity, regional resilience, and an approach based on global common goods. We also need to further close the gap between research and public health need, while industry-designed trials aim at registration of new products. Only publicly funded clinical trial platforms can answer critical public health questions. Independent clinical trials thus have to be a key component of the new end-to-end ecosystem that we need for greater health equity. Whether these networks are organized by region, by portfolio, by technology, they would allow members to opt in or out of multi-site trials depending on local need. I'm confident that a strong and healthy EDCTP3 will continue to help transcend differences in culture, capacity, and resources, that it will remain a leading vehicle for research cooperation and impact in Africa and the Global South, and serve as a voice for those most in need. I'm also conscious that disease burden will change, being increasingly shaped by climate change, loss of biodiversity, and pollution, and that available technologies will continue to rapidly evolve during the life of EDCTP3. And I must add, let us not be complacent about Europe here either, which was not among the best in responding to COVID-19 and has much to improve, including on how to initiate agile, responsive, and collaborative trials during ongoing health emergencies. Another lesson from COVID-19 and Mpox, where Europe actually failed to set up timely cooperative trials. Another potential task for EDCTP3. So, dear colleagues, let us keep the fight together on many fronts. Pandemic prevention, preparedness and response, and continuing the fight against HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, neglected tropical diseases have to move forward hand in hand, following the science, driven by political leadership, supported by adequate financing, with close attention to closing gaps for people most at risk and ensuring that communities are included and, wherever possible, in the lead. And let us continue to believe that through our work together, the future can be better than the present, because hope for the future and for achieving a safer, healthier, and more equitable world starts with each of you, each of us. Many thanks and warm greetings to all.
Thank you very much, Michel. Thank you very much. I think you have seen why we are here for. His lecture was basically the context of it was a congratulatory message. It shows us why we are here for and where we have to go. So thank you very much, dear Michel. And now moving to the award. We do not have to give a big explanation why such an award is merited. It comes out of what we just heard. We have long-term commitments. We are actually not only looking at an innovation and a little bit on a project. We are walking together the value chain from innovation to application for the benefit of the people. All this we heard. And this award was designed exactly in the spirit also of Pascal Makumbi and the whole spirit of EDCTP, that we really are committed not for quick, nice scientific success, but really to really address the issues as Michel has pointed to us. I mean, I did not state the title of this lecture, but you saw it on the program. It said, Disruptive Scientific Excellence for Global Development and Global Health. And I think this is actually what we have to do, and that's why we have this specific instrument, that sounds awful, of awards in order to honor longer-term commitment for the benefit, and not just to add a few publications and to follow the traditional way of so-called scientific excellence, that you just get a high impact factor and a little bit of age indices, but that we really make this mutual learning for change, for a better world. And it is actually on this we would like to go to the award ceremony, which of course not me but Sonia will lead us through. So please, dear Sonia.
Thank you again, Marcel. But before the award, we would like to present a short video with memories about Dr. Mukumbi.
Eu distingui este meu companheiro de luta pela conquista da liberdade, igualdade e independência pela sua pontualidade, bom planeamento e organização de tudo o que ele fazia. O trabalho que ele realizou como Ministro da Saúde fez com que o Conselho de Ministros das Relações Exteriores da OUA o recomendasse como o único candidato da África ao cargo de Diretor-Geral da OMS. Recomendação essa que foi aprovada pela Conferência de Chefes de Estado e de Governo. Após cerca de 10 anos a chefiar o governo, foi exonerado do cargo a seu pedido, a 17 de fevereiro de 2004, para que desta forma ele pudesse ocupar o cargo a convite da Organização Mundial da Saúde, da Alto Representante da África, na parceria Europa e Países em Desenvolvimento para Ensaios Clínicos, EDCTP. O seu impulso e compromisso com a investigação em saúde foi fundamental para a criação do Centro de Investigação em Saúde de Manhissa, assim como da Fundação Manhissa, entidade gestora do CISM, da qual é membro fundador e foi presidente durante 8 anos.
Quando ele deixou o governo em 2024, ele foi participar na criação de uma iniciativa única entre a Europa e a África, que é a EDCTP, que era uma instituição nova, então criada, que tinha como objetivo o desenvolvimento das capacidades de pesquisa em saúde, sobretudo de doenças transmissíveis no continente africano. Como era uma instituição nova, era uma ideia nova, era preciso levar, sobretudo aos governos africanos, este novo conceito e deles conseguir o apoio político que era necessário. E é assim que ele se torna o primeiro alto representante da EDCTP, percorre praticamente todos os países africanos, trazendo esta nova ideia e mobilizando os países africanos para que aderissem a esta nova iniciativa.
There is something very personal that I want to say about Dr. Pascal Mukumbi, and that is his humility. He's a person who really embodied the values that he talked about. He's a person who never failed to make an impression irrespective of the audience. He always took time to prepare adequately and to say the right things in season. And he's a person who was very passionate about the way that he presented himself, his dressing code. He always made the right choice at the right time, without being extravagant. And besides, he's a man who is very cautious about his health. he never missed out on his morning jog. So he's one person who was very, very concerned about what goes on to the man in the field, to the man on the street, and that is the impact of the work that we do. And above all, he's one person who was very instrumental in advocating for building local capacity, promoting excellence at the local level, and also ensuring that leadership at the local level. And I'm glad that by the time he retired from EDCTP, it was during that transition to the second program of EDCTP where we had the credibility to work with the African governments. And that was the birth of the EDCTP Association that promoted and really genuinely advocated for equal partnership between Africa and Europe in the association of EDCTP.
Thank you. I will stand and I will ask you, Marcel, please, to join me and together, because I think that I won't be able to do it by myself and alone today. And to announce together maybe the prize.
Yes.
Of
together we announce. And it's a great pleasure and honor. It's the prize this year, or this moment, goes to Professor Peter Kremsler. Yes. And we kindly ask you to come to the stage together with your whole family, because you did not get this prize alone, because you had a very strong support, but the family belongs to you. Please join us.
Maybe, sorry, Marcel, maybe before that.
Yeah?
But,
yes, please.
But maybe before that, as you are preparing to come to the stage, we would like to see a short video about the professor.
Okay.
Thank you.
I forgot about the video. You have to wait still, but you get the prize. Don't worry.
So my name is Peter Kremsner. My pleasure is to work here at the Centre de Recherche Médicale de Lambaréné in Gabon and at the Institute of Tropical Medicine at the Universitätsklinikum in Tübingen. We started the work in the early 90s in a very small laboratory. Today we have around 20 buildings, 300 people, 10 professors. It has become a big campus. Main focus of our research is malaria. In a broader sense, infectious diseases of all kinds. Tuberculosis, schistosomiasis research, other worms and bacterial infections. We focus on interventions, but also more and more vaccine research now. We have had 200 clinical trials. We have to have a very good collaboration with the whole community, with the society here, and everybody knows us. This is very nice to see how well received we are in this community in midst of the rainforest area in Central Africa. One of our missions is to strengthen capability of African colleagues, and this we achieved via masters and PhDs and MDs who have formed here, and more recently we also started to create professorships. These are true full professors and chairs of tropical medicine, infectious diseases, epidemiology, financed and coming out of European universities, but located here at CERMEL. And this has also now enabled us to start a first master course accredited by the Land Baden-Württemberg and University of Tübingen, which will fully take place in Lambarene for African students. Well, EDCTP is a wonderful program to strengthen our clinical research activities, especially in malaria, tuberculosis, AIDS, and the neglected tropical diseases all over Africa. It is wonderful to receive this prize. It is such an honor and a recognition of the work I'm doing. My biggest achievement professionally is to have this access between Tübingen and Lambarene, but also now with other European universities to create something outstanding here in Central Africa with a new university and these professorships and help we have from the universities of Europe.
So now, Professor Petra Kremsner. Congratulations.
Here we are. No, but wait. Not so fast. This goes all step by step. The whole family is coming. No, it's no other film. But first of all, we have to line up. You cannot just come with the prize here first. Please come all over here. The flags are important. Yes. Congratulations. Now we are ready, eh? Sonia, do you please? And normally there is a laudatio that one gives to such a prize. We don't need that because you have to. Now the two videos, if you combine them in your mind with your spirit, you have the laudatio and you know why Peter Kremsner and the whole team, because I know there are many of the team as well, are really awarded with the Pascal Makumbi Prize. So congratulations from the bottom of our heart. And let's move on together.
Merci beaucoup, muito obrigado.
Thank you very much.
Honored and pleased, I'm a happy man, I can say, to stand here with my family, actually. This is wonderful. And my old friend Marcel and Madame Sonia Makumbi. And I also know your father, highly esteemed, Pascal Makumbi. He is really a great man. He was a great man, established, a father of EDCTP, established our organization. Thank you so much. And not to forget, Excellencies, Highness, all others, my old friend, old director, new director, Michael Makanga. Thank you for sailing us sometimes through stormy weathers. It worked very well, and I hope you will continue to sail us so well through sometimes difficult times. And to all my friends, I have to say thank you to so many. And I'm sure I'll forget so many also, so sorry for those I forget. And I may start with a very little story. I have about 1 hour, you said, Marcel? Yes, okay.
It's only 50 minutes.
Oh, 50 minutes, all right. About 40 years, it nearly is exactly to the day 40 years ago, I started my very, very first footsteps in science in a small laboratory in the Institute of Tropical Medicine at the University of Vienna as a young student. Yeah, doing more nonsense than anything, and yeah, it's very difficult in the very beginning, but then as I'm diligent, hardworking, it moved on. And halfway through, actually, I just thought, half time EDCTP was created. I was around as a small delegate of the German delegation at the time, and I was also admiring already Dr. Mokumbi at the time and other ministers, and so creating this very important organization, EDCTP, which has fostered more than anything else our research, our partnership between Europe and Africa. And actually, I'm the best example, or one of the good examples. I'm European and African. I'm both in my heart and in everything, in my culture and in my passports, I can show you afterwards. And this is exactly what we always have done, and EDCTP has given us the opportunity to do this so well. And I would like to mention and acknowledge two major institutions which are very important to my scientific career. This is the University of Tübingen, of course, which appointed me as a professor 28 years ago. I'm still there and keeping on. This was and still is a wonderful time with so many very, very good colleagues, professor colleagues, friends, like Carsten Köhler, but also all the group leaders and professor colleagues I have there, like Steffen and Rolf and Meral, Andrea, Jana and Velavan. Most of them are here sitting around, and so many students I had during my time. They have become also professors by now. This is when you realize that you're becoming really old, when your students are getting professors sitting next to you. But this is so wonderful. And I've always worked in Africa. I've always liked to work in Africa. And I would like to mention two things. One is Brazzaville and the other one is Lambarene. I'm working, and I have the pleasure to work with Francine Toumi since 15 years now, together in the Fondation Congolaise de Recherche Médicale in Brazzaville. And this is a wonderful endeavor. Francine is leading so well, and I'm so happy that I can be part of this undertaking. Thank you, Francine. And the closest to my scientific heart is CERMEL, the Centre de Recherche Médicale de Lambarene, actually where the film was made not so long ago. And this is where I started out personally 32 years ago with one student in a small hut and with one centrifuge which was en panne, as we say. So a bit of a hard head start. Nevertheless, again, with diligence and hard working, we grew with a staff of 300 now, and the campus you see, and we had a lot of support from so many institutions and big funding organizations. EDCTP is our primary funding organization, the EU as an entire funding body, but also BMBF from Germany and many others. And of course, we focused initially a lot on new centrifuges and other things. We bought so many things and bought cytometers and sequencers. We have sequencers, we have 5 cytometers or 6, I don't count anymore. Probably more than half are en panne as well, but this is a problem when you work in Africa. But then having already quite a few buildings and also the cytometers and the other fancy equipment, one thinks, what is that all about? It is a bit like if I take an analogy of football. If you have the best stadium in the world, everything tip-top, and you play with a team in the second league or in the third league, this is not good. So I thought about 8 years ago and 9 years ago, I started out to say we have to change this, and this is, and I already said this in the film, we have to have the best players. And this is when I started out to ask for these professorships. First they said, this is not possible at the University of Tübingen. I started off having a meeting with the dean and the rector, and I said, this would be an idea to have an African at our faculty being a full professor. And I said, this is not possible, we have never had this, this is not known in Germany. So, but nevertheless, you don't give up, and then after 1 year, 2 years, it actually happened. And Akim Adenyika is now since 8 years or more. He's also sitting there, a professor, colleague of mine and ourselves in the Faculty of Medicine in Tübingen. He was the first one. Thank you very much, Akim. Today we have a second professor also working in Lambarene, in Stefan Bormann, as well funded, financed fully as a full professor in Tübingen, but working in Lambarene. The same happened in Hamburg with Ghislain Mombongoma. He's also sitting here. Bertrand Lell, funded from the Medical University of Vienna, financed out of there, working in Lambarene, and now we have 2 more professorships in the University of Münster and the University of Leiden. And I think if I have nothing else done, this is an achievement because it really stays. It is not something you can take away easily. You must, you must do a lot to get Akim away or Ghislain or Bertrand away from Lambarene because they have their full professorships. This is a real commitment with a very good salary, installed there in Lambarene. This is how you keep your Mbappés and Ronaldos and others at your team, at your equipe. And this is something we are very happy that we could achieve this. And this is also why we have now started to create a university in Lambarene. I'm very proud. Scientifically, I'm a very proud man. And also with my family, I am such a proud man, and there's partnership. The closest partnership to my heart is my dear wife, Inge. 35 years of closest partnership. And today we have also brought the 3 fruits of our fruitful collaboration. My daughter Helene and my sons Ferdinand and Gottfried. Thank you very much.
Yes, and this marks the end of this ceremony, and we are very happy for all awarded and for all of you. And it was a particular pleasure. Sonia runs already away. For us to do this together. And I think we leave the stage now, but the last word goes to Sonia, of course.
Not a lot to say, but to thank you all. Congratulations to Professor Peter again, and congratulations for EDCTP 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Sonia and to Marcel for presenting the prize, and of course, congratulations to Peter, and also to Peter's family, who I think was a bit surprised to be called on stage, but it was very nice to see you all here. So we will move on in the program, and I will now invite the chair of the EDCTP Association and chair of the governing board of the Global Health EDCTP 3 joint undertaking, Henning Gedeke, who will join the stage.
Thank you. Chère Madame la Ministre Sylvie Retailleau, Mesdames et Messieurs les...
Dear Minister Sylvie Retailleau, Excellencies, dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the Director Committee of EDCTP 3 for Global Health, welcome to the 11th EDCTP Forum.
It is great to see many of you in person here today. 2 years ago, many of us could only participate virtually at the successful forum in Maputo due to the pandemic. But this year, we meet in person to celebrate 20 years of EDCTP and beyond. And it is good to celebrate. It is good to look back at what we achieved in the past 2 decades. This gives us the motivation and the knowledge to do even better in the years and decades to come. 20 years sound a lot, but we all know that 20 years is a very short period for the challenges we face in EDCTP's mission. EDCTP started with a focus on HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. Today, the focus goes beyond this and includes, among others, neglected, emerging and re-emerging infections, as well as antimicrobial resistance and the impact of the climate crisis on infectious diseases. In the past 20 years, EDCTP has contributed significantly to combating these diseases. New vaccines, diagnostics, and treatments are in use thanks to the research funded by EDCTP. EDCTP created research capacities that are fundamental for future successes. But most importantly, EDCTP brought together some of the brightest minds, both from Africa and from Europe. The value of the networks these bright minds created cannot be measured in numbers. They are priceless, and they are the result of cooperation as equal partners. They made EDCTP the best practice example of how Africa and Europe can work together in the field of research and achieve results none of us could have achieved alone. But this forum will also look beyond the first 20 years, let's say the next 20 years. And based on the networks and capacities we already created, I'm convinced that the best years are yet to come. With the Global Health EDCTP3 joint undertaking, we created a solid foundation for EU-Africa cooperation in the field of global health research. And based on the past successes, we will invest more than 1.5 billion euro in our mission until 2027. A lot of money that comes with a lot of responsibility. The new legal base gives us also the opportunity to cooperate better with the private sector, namely philanthropic organizations. And the EDCTP family is growing. Today we have 15 European and 27 African members. Our African members coming from Lusophone, Anglophone, and of course, Francophone countries equally. The commitment of the member states together with the European Commission is the driver of EDCTP's success. Et ce n'est pas un hasard si nous nous rencontrons aujourd'hui.
It is no coincidence if we meet here today in Paris. France supported the EDCTP from the start and was always a reliable partner. I would thus like to make the most of this opportunity to thank Madam Minister in the name of the Directing Committee for the support of her country in the past 20 years. The organization of this beautiful forum and your presence today are yet another proof of your proactive commitment. I would like to thank all of the organizers, the Secretariat from The Hague, Brussels, and our scientific committees, as well as the stakeholders group. And in particular, I would like to thank you, Yosdan, and the French team for the wonderful organization of this forum here in Paris. I wish you all a fruitful and successful forum with interesting discussions and many discoveries. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, and merci beaucoup, Hennings, and also thanks for all you have done since 2 years, although you take my job and my place, but thanks a lot. And I didn't know that he speaks so good French, so thank you. So now we are going to move to the video celebrating EDCP's 20th anniversary, sorry. It is because of Hennings, actually. And request that this is played while we were waiting for our Ministry of Higher Education and Research. So we will see the video now.
In 20 years, EDCTP has built partnerships and has built capacity.
It is a very heartening moment celebrating the 20th anniversary of the EDCTP program.
EDCTP not only supports conduct of clinical trials, it goes far beyond of that. It supports capacity building, lab infrastructure, training of African scientists at all levels.
20 great years developing capacity in low middle income countries, helping them tackle the most pressing health problems.
The uniqueness of EDCTP lies in its approach.
The focus on equity and a trusted partnership.
It's the only European research partnership where Africans and Europeans work together as equals.
It is a philosophy where politicians and decision makers are involved.
It has to be addressed together.
This is what has made the difference.
And now, African countries are members of the Governing Council.
I believe the greatest achievement of EDCTP has been the human capacity development and the building of institutions in Africa.
EDCTP has inculcated a sense of ownership whereby both the North and the Southern partners are jointly working together in governance as well as in shaping the agenda of the research program.
It has a footprint in 44 African countries, 19 European countries, and other global partners.
The results have been proven to be a very important pillar in epidemic preparedness.
I'm convinced that the greatest successes of EDCTP are yet to come.
The scope of EDCTP has been wider and wider.
Global Health EDCTP3 will build on the experience and success of the EDCTP1 and EDCTP2 programs since 2003.
The experience of interacting with other experts and making a meaningful contribution to global health has been personally very rewarding.
And I wish to specially thank the unseen heroes, the EDCTP Secretariat staff, the current and former staff, and all the families, volunteers and patients that are involved in the clinical research activities in Africa, and all our partners and friends that have made this possible.
It's a great honor to be part of the anniversary celebrations.
Happy 20th anniversary, EDCTP.
I look forward for another 20 years and more.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, EDCTP.
Looking forward to the next 20 years of partnership.
I wish you all a happy anniversary.
It has been a pleasure to partner EDCTP over the last 2 decades.
Happy birthday, EDCTP.
Congratulations, EDCTP, for a job well done.
Okay. Thanks and all, and happy birthday to all. So the minister is downstairs, right? So we should give you some words on what we are going to have now before the ministry arrives. The minister arrives, so we will have actually the Outstanding Female Scientist Prize and ceremony that actually will be given by Sylvie Rotaillot, our Minister of Research. And then before that, we will have the official opening of the ceremony of the 11th EDCTP, and this will be done by our Minister of Research. After that, we will have the EDCTP anniversary keynote address by Michael Makanga, and for him we will do a standing ovation, I think. And then we will have the cultural performance, which is the PSL University Orchestra, and before you arrive, we were here soon. You will see it's very exciting, and then we will have the opening. Actually, the cocktail ceremony after that. So I did my job. Now to you.
Now it's my turn. So now it's my turn. So we're hoping that the minister is making her way. up here.
You wanted, yeah, but I'm not good in jokes. But she's going to, because Laurent is asking me for jokes. So I'm. Yeah. So no, but the good thing is that the atmosphere is becoming more and more EDCTP. Actually, in the beginning it was a little bit too serious, I think. Yeah. And. So I look at the open doors and everything, and she's going to arrive, and we will have we discussed about having Michael before, but I think it's important to have the closing ceremony before your talk, Michael, and we can then. You can stretch. That is Irene's recommendation. Stretch your legs. But don't move. Just stretch. And actually, more seriously, there were some visa issues, and I asked Michael, an organization committee, and that's why in the beginning I said that we have to thank our Ministry of Research. She's arriving. Irene, this is.
Okay. Voilà. Alors, bienvenue.
Welcome. I am honored to welcome to call up our Minister for Higher Education and Research, Mrs. Sylvie Retailleau, and I would like to thank her for being with us today.
Be here with you today, and as a French minister allows me to speak in French, and my speech in French. So, Monsieur le Président.
So, Mr. President of the EDCTP, Director of the ANRS-MIE, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I am delighted to open this forum. I am honored to open this 11th edition of the European and Developing Countries Clinical Trial Partnership Forum. And I see that 21 countries in Africa and 15 countries in Europe, as well as the EU and other foundations, this partnership for clinical trials is one of the main international initiatives to implement this important approach, global approach. This partnership aims at strengthening our capacities to have a response to pandemics, to have vaccines and drugs for infectious diseases, both in sub-Saharan African countries, as well as the implementation of new approaches for surveillance and control of emerging diseases and re-emerging diseases. It also aims at strengthening the necessary infrastructure to carry out research and to heal and cure our patients better in sub-Saharan Africa. And it's important to me as a Minister of Higher Education and Research to train our youth to research and healthcare. France is a funding partner since 2003, and we are one of the main contributors. We also made the most of this partnership thanks to the lever effect of funding, because projects are also funded. I would like to pay tribute to the ANRS-MIE in France. I would like to congratulate their commitment and that of Yazdan Pana. She She was at the head of the partnership, the president since May 2022. After 2 great programs, we now have a 3rd program, so EDCTP3 for global health was launched on the 10th of May 2022 in Paris. And that program has a 1.6 billion euro budget for 2022-2027, 100 million coming from the European Commission, 400 million from member states, and France is participating to the tune of 100 million. And foundations and external partners have also contributed. This 11th forum is taking place in Paris for the first time. It is the 20th anniversary of this program, and it is the first EDCTP forum in its new institutional form as an institutionalized partnership with the European Commission. Over 1,000 people are taking part, coming from 60 different countries, either online or in this room, and I would like to congratulate and thank the organizers because this is a great success. The theme of our forum, acting in partnership for global health research, innovation, and impact in Africa. This has been the part played by the EDCTP for 20 years. I do not have time to present all of the activities of this partnership. They're well known and recognized, and over 300 clinical trials have taken place since the beginning of this program or during the second phase, so between 2015 and 2022. Among these studies, I would like to tell you about the ANRS DREAM and ATURA actions funded by the EDCTP and the ANRS MIE. Both of them are in line with the philosophy and the priorities of this program. The goal being to implement a global action to improve research on infectious diseases and emerging and re-emerging diseases. The ANRS DATURA project is an international clinical trial assessing the efficiency of a program against TB, of a vaccine against TB, and in particular for immunodeficient people or people who have HIV. It is in place in 6 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, as well as in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia, Cameroon, Guinea, Uganda, Vietnam, and Zambia. This study, ANRS DREAM, aims at reducing the mortality rate of HIV patients who have an infection of their central nervous system. It is in collaboration with the St. George University of London and the Institut Pasteur. Lastly, I would like to highlight the fact that this forum is one of the priorities of the French presidency of the Council of the EU to strengthen the partnership of the EU and Africa in terms of healthcare and for our preparedness for pandemics at European and international level. On the 12th of October 2023, the French strategy for global healthcare was launched. We announced it with the Minister of European and Foreign Affairs, Catherine Colonna, as well as our Minister for Health and Prevention, Aurélien Rousseau. It was the opportunity to reassert the commitment of the French government for global healthcare, and in particular for me and my ministry to present our research actions and our training actions in that field, to present this global health approach that we support in research, innovation, and training. I would like to thank the ANRS MIE for their commitment, and I would like to reassert the commitment of France for this Academy of Global Health that will open in 2024 in Lyon. Thank you. I wish you a successful and fruitful forum. I know that it will be very interesting in a capital field for our future.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. Et juste...
Thank you, Madam Minister. And right before you were saying, I said that I wanted to thank you for ensuring that we all had the necessary visas. Things went smoothly, and we would like to thank you for your commitment. Thank you. Thank you.
Alors maintenant, il y a le... Alors, on vous a demandé de remettre le prix of Outstanding Female Scientist.
We've asked you, Madam Minister, to award the Outstanding Female Scientist Prize. Absolutely, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity. So I'm going to stay with you a little bit. I know that you are all waiting this prize award ceremony, and I'm delighted to be able to reward this Outstanding Female Scientist Prize award that rewards outstanding female scientists that work within the framework of the program that gathers us today. I do not know if the prize winner is with us, if she is still online. I hope so. And it is my honor to reward this prize to our colleague that I will now introduce, Professor Coguilhem Naidoo.
I am the Deputy Director for the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa, known as CAPRISA. I qualified as a medical doctor, and all I saw was dying babies. And I was compelled to be part of finding a solution. I was among the very first doctors in South Africa to offer patients antiretrovirals and to establish clinics in rural communities to offer free antiretroviral treatment services. And with that, I found that they were dying from tuberculosis. In KwaZulu-Natal, it's embarrassing that 1 in 4 people that die are dying from HIV and TB. I led a team to address the problem of mortality in TB-HIV co-infection. The evidence that the studies generated showed a 56% reduction in mortality in TB-HIV co-infected patients. My work spans TB prevention, leading several large vaccine trials, implementation science research, especially around drug-resistant TB. My achievements cannot be mine alone. I have worked with mentors, with funders, with collaborators, with peers and colleagues, and with students. The major achievement, I would say, was my impact on WHO guidelines and impacting on saving lives and reducing morbidity, and that has been at a global level. I have graduated scores of masters, PhDs, and postdoctoral scientists. More than 90% of them are women, and 95% of them are African scholars. And I've contributed to capacity building and to training the next generation of scientists in Africa. There is huge amount of talent in young African scientists. Funders like the EDCTP are lauded because they've recognized this, and they are actively contributing into developing African scientists. Winning the EDCTP prize is important because it provides encouragement that the work I have invested in is being recognized of value to society. It gives me an amazing resource to motivate and fund other young scientists, and it goes back to investment in African scientists to find African solutions to African problems.
May I add a few words? I know that Professor Naidu is extremely humble, so I would like to tell you what an expert she is. You've heard it. She contributed to research. She's a director, vice director at the Caprisa Center in South Africa, the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa. She's also a fellow professor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, in South Africa as well. As you may know her, she comes from a researching background, but she's also a teacher. She teaches the new generation of scientists, and she trains them for the research world. She's extremely committed to a role as a teacher. And I think that what makes these outstanding female scientists is this commitment. She has received, Professor Naidu has received several awards. The EUTLD Union Prize. She was also invited to be a member of the Science Academics Academic of Africa. She's also been rewarded by the Lancet Scientist Journal for her work against TB and HIV. She's part of several organizations. She's also chair of several monitoring and security boards. She also, of course, has reviewed many articles and publications in the scientist world. In my opinion, Professor Naidu is also crucial in her work where she trains third grade students. She is real passionate about training. She wishes to train the next generation of scientists and of scientific leaders. She is a role model to us all as a woman as well. She has led by example on the national and international level. She has been instrumental in treating HIV in Africa. So, Professor Naidu, I would like to wholeheartedly congratulate you for all the work that you've carried out. You are a role model for all female scientists. So thank you again for your good work.
Sylvia Retellieu, Commissioner Ivanova, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, all distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. I am honored and deeply humbled to receive this award in the EDCTP's 20th anniversary year. I thank you immensely for this recognition, which I receive on behalf of the incredible Caprisa team. The award serves as an inspiration to women scientists in Africa and inspires me to work harder to further research, to work harder in my research into novel TB and HIV interventions. I wish to pay tribute to Dr. Pascal Makumbi, who passed away earlier this year. His legacy is a testament to his bold leadership and his tireless efforts in research capacity strengthening in Africa and to the epidemics of TB, HIV, and malaria. I often ask myself, what drives my passion in TB and HIV research? The answer remains constant as it did almost 3 decades ago: saving lives and reducing suffering. Yesterday, the New York Times carried the headline, "Ending TB is within reach, so why are millions still dying?" Let's look at the statistics from the WHO. In 2021, an estimated 10.6 million people fell ill with TB, an increase from 10.1 million the year before. 1.6 million people died from TB,
an increase in that year by over 100,000 deaths. These increases in TB incidence and mortality has reversed gains made in TB control over the past 2 decades. There is no time to pause in our scientific endeavors. Much still remains to be done. Supporting science remains a global humanitarian imperative. Scientific discoveries supported by the EDCTP have led to life-saving interventions. And the implementation science research has helped us understand whether these interventions are effective in the real-world setting, and their benefits can be realized, sustained, and scaled up. These efforts have helped to curb the spread of disease, have helped avert humanitarian and public health catastrophes that have led to pain, despair, suffering, and death. Investing in science is about creating the future. Healthy nations who are economically active and have equitable access to life-saving drugs and healthcare. And so too is the investment in women scientists who have the resilience and unwavering determination to succeed, to make a difference. In Africa, women scientists have contributed to science despite often having limited resources and few role models. I remain committed to the upliftment of young female scientists. I am reminded that mentors and an enabling scientific environment are central in the development of scientists. When I joined CAPRISA 2 decades ago, I recall Professor Salim Abdul Karim's immense generosity in giving me the space and the scientific support to pursue my career. He instilled in me the importance of high quality, high impact science. This was not negotiable. I am indeed indebted to SLIM, to Professor Qureisha Abdul Karim, Professor Nesri Pariachi for their support and guidance, which has had a profound impact on my scientific journey. I thank our participants who believe in the power of research, to my research teams, both past and present, my family, my husband Indresh, our 2 boys. I could not have achieved this without their support. Science has the power to change lives. Science has the power to challenge conventional thought. And indeed, science has the power to save lives. In receiving this award, I will draw on Dr. Makumbi's legacy to make a difference in the lives of populations. It is through interdependency and interconnectedness that we collectively as scientists can innovate, develop new interventions to save lives. I thank you.
So we have to take a picture, and I think that Nesri Padayalchi is going to come on the scene to have the prize on the behalf of Kokelium Naido. Thank you. The only thing is that, where is the prize? Where is the prize? Yeah. I was looking for it's big. Oh, it's heavy.
So, merci, Madame Ministre.
Thank you, Minister.
To this fantastic prize. We now move to the final part of speeches for this evening. It has become now, and I would now like to invite Michael Makanga to give the EDCTP anniversary keynote address to talk about EDCTP 20 years and beyond, from strategy and numbers to sustainable impact. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister Sylvia Ratalu, other honorable ministers, Your Royal Highness, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In the next few minutes, I want to walk us through EDCTP 20 years and beyond, from strategy and numbers to sustainable impact, as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. And I'll walk us through the 3 programs. We are celebrating 20 years of tackling infectious diseases in sub-Saharan Africa. And it has been a journey. The program is evolving. It is not 1 year, 20 times. We have been growing and reflecting, and so has the structure of EDCTP. It has been growing. We started off in 2004 with a legal structure that was the European Economic Interest Grouping. And at that time, it was a grant from the European Union to the European participating states implementing research and development, supported under Framework Program 6 and 7 with a total budget of 200 million. And the participating states mobilized a matching 200 million, and the program to realize another 200 million from the third parties, and those are the global public and private partners involved in research and development. And the focus of disease by then was restricted to HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria. And this was the first Article 185 initiative, and even then, the largest program on clinical trials targeted for Africa. The journey began with the launch of the Europe office in February 2004. And the gentleman you see on my right, on my left, is the late Dr. Pascal Makumbi. And on the left, rather on my right, is Dr. Piero Riero. And in the middle was the Minister of Development Cooperation for the Netherlands. And that marked the launch of the program, and it was hosted by the Dutch Scientific Organization in the Netherlands. 5 months after, we had the launch of the EDCTP Africa office, hosted by the South African Medical Research Council. And again, you see the 2 people that featured in the launch of the Africa office, rather in the European office, also in the Africa office. And this was opened by the South African Minister of Health then, and the then President of the South African Medical Research Council. The program was committed to implementing its strategy in an integrated manner, having clinical research at the core, combating the 3 diseases in an integrated manner, developing implementing research and development with with developing capacity around it and promoting networking. South-South, North-South, and North-North networking. At that time, the capacity developed was a little minimal, with a minimum budget. On the side of human development, we only had career development fellowships and senior fellowships. And the program launched the Networks of Excellence, supported ethics and capacity development for regulatory environment, and also the establishment of the clinical trial registry. On the side of research and development, I wish to highlight a few results that came from the clinical trials supported then. On the HIV front, the program supported the development of fixed-dose combination formulations through for children living with HIV. And this was in the studies. These are multiple studies, pharmacokinetic and adherence studies that have been out of over the time that informed WHO recommendations on treatment options. Then we had the landmark Keshobola trial that generated compelling evidence that helped on informing the prevention of mother-to-child transmission on HIV during breastfeeding. On the malaria front, we had the 4ABC trial that demonstrated dihydroartemisinin piperacin as a new treatment option and was, with scientific opinion from the European Medicines Agency, made available. And also, the pyronaridim artesunate added, as well as the hydroartemisinin piperacin formulations for children made available in partnership with the Medicines for Malaria Venture, and these were made available on the WHO priority list. Continuing on the HIV front, we had on the interaction of TB and HIV, the PRED-ART trial that generated evidence on an affordable steroid drug that is prednisone in the treatment of TB iris, and this was very cost-saving. We had the ARNEST trial that generated important data on the boosted protease inhibitor medication. And then we had the REMSTAT that was carried out in the real-life environment that showed that a combination of screening for cryptococcal meningitis in the community reduced HIV-associated deaths by 28%. On the TB front, we had the Panacea Consortium. This showed for the first time the value of adaptive trials, that is the multi-arm, multi-stage designs that initially were in the cancer drug studies, now extrapolated to TB therapy evaluations. The program established the regional networks of excellence in 4 regions that were spanning 63 institutions and 21 countries, building clinical trial capacity in the various regions and trying to address the issue of inequity in clinical research. Program helped establishing the Pan-African Clinical Trials Registry, which up to now is the only WHO-endorsed clinical trial database in Africa and a premier source of information for African trials. On the side of ethics and regulatory capacity, it helped developing interactive platform to increase communication between African health research ethics committees with capacity built in every different countries, and also the mapping of medicines regulatory authorities. And more important, the establishment of the Africa Vaccines Regulators Platform in partnership with WHO AFRO. That was the first program. Moving on to the second program. We evolved to a legal structure that is an EDCTP association, and the program started off in 2014, supported under the European Union Horizon 2020 with an increased budget of 683 million from the European Union, matched with participating states funding, and actually they went beyond that, and also third-party funding to be realized of tune of 500 million. The scope was increased beyond HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria to include neglected infectious diseases, diarrhea diseases, lower respiratory tract infections, and diseases of epidemic potential. That marked the launch of the second program in Cape Town, and then Minister Pando opened and launched the program and challenged us to do more and better, and I can say we've not disappointed her. One historic event with the second program was that for the first time, 11 African countries joined as full members and were also represented on the board. And in the picture on my left, you see the then chair, Dr. Mark Palmer, in the middle, representative from Congo-Brazzaville, Professor Francine Ntumi, and the then executive director, Professor Mugoni. Second program increased in size and established as a public-public partnership with 14 European countries and 16 African countries and 2 aspirant countries, Angola and Switzerland. On the type of scope, the disease, as I said, increased to include the others, but we also increased on the capacity that was being developed with a more comprehensive fellowship program. We increased the capacity built and also the depth and the number of clinical trials conducted. And the second program really demonstrated itself as a global partnership for sustainable development with contribution of 683 million from the Union, what was supposed to be matched with 683 from the member states, European member states. They've gone to 1.35 billion, and the African member states contributing 67 million in kind, and we've realized 455 million from the third parties. Those are the public and private partners involved in research and development. Of the centrally managed funds, 825 million have been invested in supporting 438 projects, and 86% of this is going towards research and development, and 24% is going towards very transformative capacity development, strengthening the regulatory, the enabling environment for conducting clinical trials in Africa, and also in human capacity development, supporting 206 fellowship grants. Combining the first and the second program, the centrally managed funds is an investment of 1.03 billion, with 84% in clinical studies and 26% in transformative capacity development. And of these, 477 clinical studies have been supported, generated over 2,000 peer-reviewed high-impact journals, and 150 phase 2 and phase 3 studies have been contributed to by the 2 programs, and 58 studies targeting underserved populations, the maternal and child health especially, and also co-infections and comorbidities. Program has supported 121 grants, strengthening the ethics and regulatory environment in sub-Saharan Africa, establishment of 4 regional networks of excellence, and through the EU Trust Ethics Project, delivered the Global Code of Conduct for conducting research in low-resource settings. The epidemic preparedness networks established after the Ebola outbreak, spanning 18 countries, were also pivotal in response to COVID-19, and that is Pandora IDNet and ALERT. The establishment of the Pan-African Clinical Registry, which complements the other registers globally, and supporting pharmacovigilance in different African countries. Looking at the capacity built in people, the program has supported 262 fellowship grants, but these are supporting more than 400 fellows throughout Africa, and in partnership with Africa CDC, 151 fellows in epidemiology and biostatistics, and close to 2,000 clinical trials tailored trainings, and the establishment of an alumni network platform to be able to track where the fellows are coming from and their progress. And these resources continue. And compliments, of course, to the European coordination and partnership, where resources have been realized, as I've said, in cash and in kind, and the funds that have been leveraged through partnership with our private and public partners. The program stands with 72 countries involved, 20 European countries, 44 African countries, and 8 countries in other continents. But what are the tangible achievements of the second program beyond facts and figures? We've talked about the high-impact journals. 93% of these feature in high-impact journals. 67% of these, we have the senior authors, first and last, affiliated to sub-Saharan African institutions. Program is part of the PubMed Central, an open science platform. And to cite some of the achievements, program has delivered a simpler and safer treatment for cryptococcal meningitis. This is a single-dose liposomal amphotericin B for cryptococcal meningitis. And these were results from the largest phase 3 trial that has been supported, the Ambition trial. And these results showed that the simplified treatment is as good as the WHO recommended treatment at that time and is less harmful to patients and be more suitable for resource-poor settings. This has informed the revision of the WHO guidelines in record time. And beyond that, another study improving management of meningitis in general in HIV-infected individuals, evaluating pragmatic implementation of interventions and strategies to reduce mortality for HIV-related central nervous system infection. This has reduced the all-cause 2-week mortality from 49% to 24% among people living with HIV. On the malaria front, we've delivered on 2 vaccines. The first approved vaccine, that is RTSS, and now this study is an improvement of that, using it in combination with seasonal malaria chemoprophylaxis, which shows that when the vaccine is used together with seasonal malaria chemoprevention, you have a 2/3 increase in the reduction of severe malaria cases and deaths among children than when seasonal malaria chemoprophylaxis is used alone. Recently, you've had the WHO Director General announcing the R21M Matrix vaccine.
Nos résultats pour 2021 doivent être approuvés pour l'utilisation de traitements contre le paludisme parmi les enfants. Et nous sommes à la phase 1 de ce programme, de cette étude qui est très importante. Et cela nous permet d'obtenir les données nécessaires pour la phase 3. Et maintenant, nous avons un vaccin rapide qui a atteint les 77% d'efficacité requis par l'OMS. En ce qui concerne les maladies infectieuses, le consortium de pédiatrie a fourni un nouveau traitement pédiatrique pour les enfants en bas âge avec une efficacité de plus de 90%. Et l'Agence du médicament de l'Union européenne a validé ce traitement.
Following the assessment of the application before the end of this year, that this will be approved and added also to the WHO's list for pre-qualified essential medicine products available in Africa. And more important, this product is also going to be locally manufactured in Africa, in Kenya, and it's being evaluated with the disease control programs in Cote d'Ivoire, in Kenya, and in Uganda. Moving on to eliminating sleeping sickness, we have an example from Cote d'Ivoire. The Detect Heart project has made key contributions to the WHO-certified elimination of human African trypanosomiasis and WHO-verified elimination of sleeping sickness in Cote d'Ivoire, and this was achieved heavily with the funding that came from EDCTP, with a project that evaluated this, and this is to be replicated in other countries affected by sleeping sickness. Moving on to epidemic preparedness, we started off with Ebola, investing a bit in response to Ebola, and the member states responded in a very tremendous way. And I have to say compliments to the government of the French government. You led the way for the member states' response to COVID-19. 83% of the budget came from the participating states, and you made the first contribution, supporting 27 projects. And the program has also invested in the Pandola IDNet and Alert preparedness consortia that are responding to outbreaks. 25 countries were covered as part of this, and I mentioned the regional networks of excellence supporting clinical trials. These also responded to the outbreak, and I have to mention that we heard about Omicron, where the discovery happened in Botswana and in South Africa. The Botswana National HIV Reference Laboratory identified the first 4 gene sequences. And this lab you see here is one of the South African Network of Excellence. And recently, the Director General of WHO has designated this as the WHO Collaborating Center in Botswana. Work has been done to support pharmacovigilance, and studies have generated important lessons and best practices that have been shared in guidelines guiding other countries in this regard. More work has been done in identifying priorities for newborn and child health guidelines in Malawi, Nigeria, and South Africa, and these practices are being shared with other countries as well. We are committed to advancing women in health science, and this is just an example of dedicated PhD projects that are linked to the regional networks of excellence, supporting 32 PhD students, also with support from the UK, and more is to be done in this area. On gender focus, again, a lot of guidelines are being generated through our ethics grants that are being made available for other countries to benefit from these resources. On the global front, the program has partnered with the Amsterdam Institute for Global Health and Development and WHO and delivered the Global TB Vaccine Roadmap, Research and Development Roadmap that is informing other partners on global TB vaccine research and development priorities to coordinate the global action to accelerate the development and implementation of new TB vaccines. And we are committed to open access data sharing, and in partnership with the global health network, EDCTP has set up the Knowledge Hub, which has components supporting clinical trial protocol development for researchers in low-income countries and even in high-income countries, data management, and a one-stop data sharing tool and repository finder. You may have heard that WHO has made a resolution during its World Health Assembly on clinical trials, strengthening clinical trials to provide high-quality evidence on health interventions to improve research quality and coordination. We are working very closely with WHO and also through support from the UK Department of Health and Social Care. This aspect is also being supported. And WHO is doing a lot of this work, mapping and also developing normatives. And I have to say that during this forum on Wednesday, WHO is organizing a special session that will be led by Dr. Vasemuthi on WHO's clinical trials resolution, better evidence and stronger ecosystem of clinical trials. EDCTP has been recognized by the Advisory Group on Research and Development for Africa and Europe cooperation as the most cited joint program that is strengthening health research and health systems in Africa, and the flagship EU-Africa partnership in health research and development cooperation with large, successful, long-lasting research networks. Looking at the future, the Global Health EDCTP3 was launched, and already work is happening, and it is overlapping a bit with EDCTP2. And the novelty here is that the Global Health EDCTP3 has a legal structure of a joint undertaking, meaning that now the European Union, represented by the Commission, and the European and African member states, represented by the EDCTP Association, jointly are partners in supporting the program. So the program is politically stronger and is better funded and has increased international cooperation with the disease scope being maintained, and we hope to deliver more and better. The association has increased, has grown. We have 15 European countries that are part of the association and 27 countries from the African front and 2 aspirant countries, Angola and Switzerland. The scope has been maintained, covering the same diseases that are part of EDCTP2, but taking into account major overarching elements of antimicrobial resistance and climate-related crisis, to integrate those in, and also ensuring that we do more on clinical research, and this time more late-stage development with more emphasis on phase 3 and phase 4 and product-focused implementation research. So far, calls to a tune of 220 million have been launched, and 103 million have been awarded. And we have, of these, 95.4% towards research and development and 7.6% towards strengthening capacity. A number of countries, as you can see, are already involved in the third program, 39 countries, 13 on the European side and 26 on the African side, and we are going to do more and better as the program is strengthened. And in conclusion, the Global Health EDCTP3 has a presence in this forum. We have opportunities to learn more about the program. There will be a dedicated workshop on Wednesday on Global Health EDCTP3 presenting the new program and its opportunities for collaboration. And there will be another plenary session on Friday that will be on Global Health EDCTP3 strategy and links with other global initiatives as we shape the program to deliver more and better. And with this, I want to thank you all for your contribution to the success of the program.
No, thanks a lot, Michael. So, yeah, because we wanted to do at least have a picture with all the speakers on the scene and with our minister. And I wanted just before to thank you, to say to everyone that we really believe in EDCTP. EDCTP is a unique partnership. We have done a lot. We have many things to do. And I think the HIRA director told us, Laurent, that it's important to put more innovation, more manufacturing. I think it's important. And Africa CDC, Jean-Guy, is here to say that research, surveillance, and care is a continuum, and we should not make silos of this. Thank you very much, and please, if you can, come on the floor. Speakers for a picture. And merci beaucoup. Hein. Merci à vous. Oh, please don't move. You should not leave, because after the picture, we have the cultural performance, and it is really good. So don't move. No, I'm not joking. Merci beaucoup. So we should take the picture before. Non, c'est important que. Après, there's too many. I invited.
Without a father, without a mother, without a sister or a brother, I'm what they call all to myself alone. Don't have a dollar, not a red penny, don't even have a portrait of Jenny. That's what they call all to myself alone. Some folk have the moon, others may have the stars. I would be content just to be where you are. I don't have a portrait of Jenny, don't even have $1, all the trouble that my life is for. I'm what they call all to myself alone. Yeah. Some folk have the moon, others must have the stars. I would be content just to be where you are. Seem just like I have nothing to live for, save my trouble that my life is for. Yeah, that's what I think, all to myself alone. Oh. Thank you very much. Smile when your heart is breaking. Smile even though it's breaking. Though there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your tears and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light all your face with sadness, hide every trace of sadness. Although it's here, maybe ever so near, that's the time you may keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. your heart is breaking. Although it's here, maybe ever so near, that's the time you may keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You know that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Good evening. This is the University PSL Orchestra. Thank you. Saxophone, Jeanne Michard. Singer, the wonderful Hugh Coltman. Double bass, Alex Merckx. And now a French song. Thank you.
Let's try. Quand il me prend par les bras, qu'elle me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Elle me dit le mot d'amour, le mot de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Elle est entrée dans mon cœur, une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est elle pour moi, moi pour elle dans la vie. Elle me l'a dit, l'a joué pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat. Dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat. Excuse my pronunciation. Love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? There's nothing in this whole wide world too good for a girl, that is true. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? Why, I bought you a fur coat for Christmas and a diamond ring, great big Cadillac car, and everything. Well, love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, don't I be good to you? Love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? Well, there's nothing too good in this world for a little girl, that is true. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? Bought you a fur coat for Christmas and a diamond ring, great big Cadillac car, and everything. Well, love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? Mr. Johan Farjo on the piano.
The last song, Nina Simone, If You Knew. Thank you to be there, thank you. Wonderful place, wonderful audience, wonderful orchestra. PS1.
If you knew how I missed you, you would not stay away today. Don't you know how I need you? Stay here, my dear, with me. I need you here, my darling. Together for a day. Together, never parting. Just you, just me, my dear. I can't go on without you. Your love is all I've been waiting for. I love all things about you. Your heart, your soul, my love. Love all things about you. Your heart, your soul, my love.
Merci. Non, mais c'est juste vous dire merci, en fait. Et on vous invite maintenant... non. We are now inviting you to a cocktail. I thought I was the minister to speak French. We invite you for a cocktail just above, outside the door. Thanks a lot, and thanks. And Irene, come with me to have to say something, because you are the most important person here.
No, you are the most important, So thank you everybody for today, and enjoy the drink. And thank you, Jastan, and thank you to all the organizers. It was a fantastic opening for the forum. Thank you.
And a special thanks to all the EDCTP, everyone. If I start saying names, I will forget, but thanks a lot for all your help.
All the support.
The Ministry of Research help, and the INRS help for organizing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.